I am in the heart of the bustling Ho Chi Minh, Vietnam, where the rhythm of bikes match the heartbeat of the city, fast and unpredictable. Every turn offers a new perspective. Every pause at a traffic light, a chance to take in the kaleidoscope of activity. The city has many layers, and it's nice being able to catch a glimpse of the things that can be easily missed. Like street art in interesting places, antique shops, colorful windows that wave hello to the sun, people coming together, skyscrapers looming overhead, juxtaposed with French colonial architecture. You'll see flags waving and street vendors preparing for the day. The ride itself may be a sensory overload for some, but it's also an intimate way to experience the city's relentless movement, connected to its past and its future, all while clinging to the back of the bike as it zips through the living, breathing streets of Saigon. So this was at the top floor of the first building that I went to, and I like that they had a room for sculptures. I believe the key aspects of any fine arts museum are its collections of artwork, of course, that span different periods and styles, exhibitions which can be thematic. So they focus on the artist, yes, but they also have different events around that artist. And it's also important to preserve the art well. And I love how they use this old building. I felt like I was transported back in time. Even though there were no fans, it added to the feel of it. And to be honest, it made me so grateful for the inventions that we have today. I love how different Vietnamese artists had a room or they had a wall to themselves, and I felt like I met them personally by reading their story. I wouldn't have learned about their daily life or their experiences as artists if I didn't stop and hold space for them. So I believe it's always better than just taking a picture and walking away. I felt like I was in the room or workshop with some of these artists as I looked at their tools, all while imagining them using it. And practicing imagination is one of the ways I love to store memories as a creative, neurodivergent person. And so yes, I gathered all these beautiful clips for us to watch and enjoy, but I also read a lot of stories, and so I'm also excited to share one with you. My favorite exhibition was the exhibition of Nguyen Sang. So he was a very famous artist in Vietnam. I think mostly the older generation would know him. He played an active role in the national resistance against the French, and so his art reflected that. So his art had a lot of war, but not just war. He was very versatile. Like he had portraits, landscapes, like daily life. And so as an artist, I think that's like really good. Yes, he probably stuck to the same type of art medium, but overall it was like different scenes, and you probably couldn't expect his next piece, which is exciting, I think. He was also the first person to make a stamp for Vietnam, like an official Vietnamese stamp, and he was just 23, which is crazy because I'm 23 and I can't imagine, like, oh my gosh, imagine you're the person making the stamp for the whole country. That's an honor. Oh my gosh, I would not shut up. I would just not shut up. I would tell everybody, I would show everybody. It was a big deal. He made it his duty to draw a portrait or portraits of President Ho Chi Minh and he used very vibrant colors, and his art style was a bit different and new. And it was the first stamp to have the Vietnam name on it as well as the president. So a lot of people in Vietnam were very excited about that, and it sold out everywhere, especially in Hanoi, which is the northern part of Vietnam. They have a stamp market there, or had a stamp market there, and it was just crazy. Everybody bought it. And because Vietnam at the time was going through a revolution, they're going through a revolution, and so imagine having an artist that drew images that supported it, or was like empowering people, or like depicting what was going on. Of course he would have been popular, right? He also felt very underappreciated because he thought that he did so much, you know, as an artist, but at the same time he wasn't. I'm not really sure. I don't really want to come up here and talk about politics like that, but do you know the ruling of like what China has? You know, they're ruled by a certain type of party. It's the same in Vietnam, or it was at the time. I'm not really sure, but he wasn't really down with that type of ruling, and so it was really hard for him as an individual and as an artist. And he kind of showed that in some of his paintings. Like, he was subtly like dropping hints of like how frustrated he was about what was going on, and so it's crazy that people pick that up. But in his social life, like, despite being so popular and, you know, successful, his social and personal life was like the complete opposite. He was really going through it. He had a very bad drinking addiction. He struggled with loneliness. When I was in the exhibition, I was reading his the passage that they had written about him, and it was basically him going through all these problems seemingly on his own, but with other like friends or probably peers or other artists realizing like, hey, like, he's not doing okay, and they're like grouping up and talking about him, but not like in a bad way, but just, you know, worryingly, and noticing that these things are going on. Sadly, he succumbed to his drinking addiction. They found him, he had expired on the floor of his drinking addiction. That's what they said, but when I did my research, it was actually due to liver failure. Yeah, which I can see as a doctor. I understand it. This was my favorite exhibition because I really felt for him for some reason. Like, I'm like, oh, and I'm happy that they showed the good and the bad. Like, yes, they showed his success, and you could see the stamps and see his paintings and his drawings, but then they kept it pretty real about what was going on behind the scenes, and I love transparency. And so yeah, I hope this story wasn't too long for you. So the museum itself has 3 buildings. So when I entered the gate, I went into the first building that I saw. Sadly, building 2, I think, was closed. It was under renovation or something like that, and so I moved on to the furthest building, and oh my gosh, it was so pretty. It was, just take a look at it, yo. Like, it was amazing. The highlight of my day was that bike ride back to that Airbnb. I'm telling you, it was the worst storm ever. I don't know what was going on. The place was seemingly flooding, but not like a heavy flood, but bikes were zooming. Ordered a grab bike, and you know, I like the bike back. I love me a bike back. And even though it was raining, I was I still wanted to try it. Like, I could have gotten a car, but anyway, called the bike. The bike had arrived. He has on his little raincoat, you know, those bike coats. Yeah, and he only has one, and there's no space for me. Truly, I was getting wet. I couldn't ride with the umbrella like this because my umbrella was flying away and it broke, so I couldn't use it. And it was nagging him, so he didn't speak English, but he said something. He was like, so I'm like, yeah, he's telling me to put this umbrella away. He kind of signaled to me to go underneath his raincoat, and at that point I wouldn't be able to see anything, and I had to trust. I had to be like, all right, you know what, it's either this or getting wet in the rain. And so I chose that. It was so cool. I know a lot of people would be freaked out about it, but imagine just sitting at the back of a bike in a random country, a very bustling country, with bikes zooming and you're hearing cars honking and the sound of the rain and people are shouting and dogs are barking and people are running, so you're hearing footsteps and your eyes are closed and you're hearing all those sounds. It was really nice, and for somebody that's so easily overstimulated, I loved imagining what was going on while I was hearing the sounds, and so it was very nice for me, and I loved that experience. One of my favorite experiences in Vietnam was that bike ride, even though it was a bit chaotic. Yeah, I don't think I'll forget the sounds and the experience. So yeah, that was my day, and thanks for coming along with me.